Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. That's my phone giving notification. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to SpeedForce Racing. We are not, in fact, racing tonight. We are here with two of the best and brightest that SpeedForce has to offer. I'm Alex, otherwise known as Pamela Rex, and I'm joined by Mike Bundy
Hello.
and JB. I introduced Mike first just to annoy JB, because normally he's the one that gets to introduce people.
I'm more annoyed at the fact that he said about brightest. He clearly hasn't looked at who's in the room.
Have you seen JB's math skills?
Have you seen the fact that Bundy can't make it to a pit lane?
Oh, Bundy was the champion this year, though, so...
Yeah, because we didn't have USA on the calendar.
That is true, however...
We're getting it in early. This can only go well.
However, I've got stats here that shows Bundy's had a very good season. But anyway, guys, we are here to recap the season. Pardon me. There was 14 races on the calendar. There was 28 races overall, and I had to stay up all night last night to watch all of them, bar 6. Boys, what did you think of the season overall? Was it a good one? JB, we'll start with you.
It was a good season. I think SFR's best season we've had in oh god, how long? We've ran since 2017. We've had a good bout of seasons, and we continue with the run in both divisions of having a new champion in SFR, which can only go well, but also go badly for Mike next year.
Okay, Mike, what was your thoughts? And what was your thoughts on JB's comment towards you there?
Well, I'll probably be in a different division anyway, so there will be a different champion. So,
Alright, guys. Anyway, do you guys just want to get started? Because as I said, there's a lot of races to get into.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
So we start off at Melbourne then, because originally there was not going to be a mixed calendar, but we had to turn it into a mixed calendar because a certain little F1 2019 is coming out next week. So we had to end the season early. But it was originally going to be 21 races, 3 tiers. It got cut down to 2. A lot of cutting down here, but that did not mean that the quality went down, because remember, guys, it's quality over quantity. So we're going to start off. JB, what are your thoughts on Australia as a track? Give us brief thoughts, because we don't have much time.
Well, in looking at Australia, when we came to this game, we all knew that with these suspension changes, the cars were changed dramatically since 2017. So getting a new car, especially if we look on the map that's on screen right now, we head just after what would be turn 3. There was a little it's a weird set of corners. It was almost a chicane, but not really bendy enough to be classed as a chicane. If you ran on the curb on either side of that, we saw drastic cars crash out at that point. It showed how difficult that circuit had become. Again, I still don't think it should be season opener. I still prefer Bahrain as season opener.
Cool. And Bundy, what was your thoughts?
I quite enjoy Australia. It's quite a fast track, quite difficult to overtake. And like JB said, the curbs are very destructive if you catch them wrong. I mean, I think Gp3 only had 4 finishes, so that kind of proves the point.
Okay, thank you. Again, I have to say with Australia, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because in terms of overtaking, it's not the brightest of the races, but there is a lot of opportunity and stuff for a lot of good moments. Anyway, do you guys just want to get into qualifying and talk about these 2 races?
Yeah.
So in Australia, in Gp3, which is our first race of the season, a known driver called Pamela Rex took pole with a time of 121.
Don't need to talk about that one.
With a 121.596. Then Ryan Van Doom was in second, 121.608. And those guys were both in the softs. But then Luke Beck came in with a 121.748 on the super soft tyres. Now, boys, what was that? I mean, obviously I got pole, which is a good thing, but that time by Luke Beck is impressive, isn't it, on the super softs? Only a 10th behind me and Ryan. Either you can go.
Michael.
Okay. Well, he didn't direct the question at me, but okay. Yeah, I mean, any time you do a very quick and competitive time on the slightly harder tyre, it's always going to draw people's eye to it, especially when I can't remember any stops Australia is, but if you could definitely do an easy one stop on the harder compounds of tyres. So yeah.
Cool. And you know, it was like a one stop for us, but Luke Beck decided he was gonna go for the super softs, run longer. Guys, unfortunately, let's go to the race start here. Now, again, I've got a few notes on this one. So first of all, Ryan got the better of me going into turn 1. Again, the turn at Australia allows for a good overtaking opportunity as long as you can get side by side. There's a good run into turn 2 and 3. But Ryan had the lead, and then there was a safety car incident because I believe it was Pro Oliver and another car got taken out. There was a restart, and on the safety car restart, me and Luke Beck came together, which came under the eye of JB. I don't know if you remember this incident, JB.
I do. As soon as you mentioned that Luke Beck was in third, I thought, hold on, didn't they touch? God, 14 weeks ago, and I still remember that. I've got a problem.
Don't worry. But it comes to blows here because again, there was just a lot. There's a lot. You know, that move there on the safety car restart. It's very tense as well, Australia, because that corner is so sharp. JB, you know, looking back at it, do you still think that possibly was my fault? Again, this is just me being open as a person now. You can be honest because the season's done. And I got the 25 points anyway, so what you said doesn't really matter.
See,
Yes.
as you reminded it, I'm now playing it back in my head where I remember. The issue with it, GP3 was a new division. We'd done pre-season testing and we'd shown it off as much as we could. And that was brilliant, how we showed it off. Everyone was looking forward to it. I know Premier drivers that were going to sit down on Tuesday nights and let you watch it while they were league racing in other places. The thing with GP3, we allowed it, well, at least the stewards and us all discussed it, we allowed it to be a little bit more scrappy because we knew that the drivers some were new to league racing, some were older faces that were struggling a little bit with the adaptation to games. So we knew that they were going to be scrappy. With that incident, it was a bit, it's half and half, and therefore we deemed it racing incident working with the stewards as always, purely because Luke was adventurous at the inside, and I think he just hit the blind spot, and Alex you didn't see him, I think, from what I remember.
You know, as well. I think the best thing about it was that me and Luke, we came to blows originally. You know, there was a bit of we'll call it experimental language between the two of us, but then we kind of sorted it out and talked about it, and that's what the season was. It was a very high tension start, and I think there was a lot of people trying to, you know, get the better of the beginning of the season. And you know, Mike, you probably don't remember this, but do you remember anything about this race, or do you want me and JB to just keep going?
I just remember a load of people crashing.
I was going to say, the first chicane, wasn't there about 6
finishes.
drivers? There were 6 drivers that got taken out at once at the fast chicane, wasn't there?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, there was. But guys, JB, I don't know whether you have the streams, that you probably don't, but there was an incident on the last lap here between newcomer Hengeloff and Alison Senegal. Do you remember this on the final corner? Hengeloff was defending as hard as he possibly could. But again, at the chicane, he takes out Alson, and you thought there was going to be a penalty. Now, I don't know whether these penalties were awarded because, again, I was only watching the streams back. Was there? I think you got left with the P3. No, I think Hengeloff kept it.
From what I remember, there was no penalty added, pure to the fact that there was a slight bit of lag and disconnection involved in the collision. So, working again with the stewards, fantastic stewards we had this season.
You're one of them. You can't say that.
No, I'm not a steward. No, I'm not. I consulted the stewards, as do all the admins. We consulted the stewards.
I thought you were a steward.
But the steward is a separate person.
Well, he's a retired racing driver. He can only be a consultant.
That's true. You know,
retired, making track debut once more. I am Kubica. We dealt it down to lag, and Alsan agreed. From what I remember, he didn't put one forwards. We had a look at it, and we all worked together. We all agreed that it was down to lag, which was unfortunate that Alsan got taken out, because that would have been his best result of the season. But yeah, that was a tough one. But Hagluf, on debut, getting third. A guy that had only just started playing the Formula 1 games, I think, 3 weeks, or as pre-season testing started, he was only just getting up the Formula 1 game. To get third on debut, it showed that he has promise, but he went to a steering wheel later on in the season, so it affected his well, not his skill, but, you know, his adaptation to the game.
Right, again, JB, you don't remember all the race, but on memory, what would you give the race? It was quite scrappy, so I'd decide if you can't give it a rating. I've watched it back, so I can give every race a rating. But if you don't have a good
14
memory,
weeks ago. I remember certain slices of SFR 14 weeks ago.
just give it a number.
I think from memory I gave it about a 7 or a 6.
I gave it 6 because it was quite scrappy. So yeah, guys, do you want to move on to the GP2 division, which at the time was the middle division, but we're not talking about Premier because it got null and void. So technically, GB, this race, it was interesting because these guys, this wasn't the top division. There wasn't as much pressure on these guys. But now thinking about it, this was the beginning fight for the top drivers in SFR. How did you think that kind of affects the drivers' mental state?
Coming into season 4, we knew that drivers were going to be fast with Mike Bundy, God knows who he is, turning up midway through last season. I think he turned up about Russia last season.
Sorry to interrupt you, JB, but if you don't know who he is, you will by the end of this season. Because he pops up quite a bit.
No, I think he turned up about Russia last season. He set the SFR world alight. But he also, he came in and we thought he's going to be quick. But we had a list of drivers, and to see, I think T. Jonas didn't even finish that race, from what I remember.
I don't think he did. No, I mean I'll skim through it. I didn't have that written down on my notes, but I'll quickly skim to the end of the race.
I can look at the standings. I've got all the standings.
Sure. No, T. Jonas didn't finish. I've just got to the end of it. He didn't finish.
That's but yeah, so the champion didn't finish, which was a shock. For him, and that was a big shock. That was a shock to the point that we, as the pundits of SFR, knew that something different was going on of the season, something new, and it did turn into a McLaren on top, just a different Norwegian.
Again, Mike, you were in that division at the time. It wasn't the top division, but was the pressure still on for you, or you just enjoyed it?
Just going out and enjoying it, mate. I mean, when I started, it's the first race of the season. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen for the rest of the season, to be honest. When I started, if I'd started earlier in the season before, I could have at least been in the fight with Lee and T. Jonas. And then obviously this season I went into it and I knew that people like Colours the God was quick, Electro Dan and Pedal were quick. So it's just about trying to be consistent as possible.
Anyway, guys, do you want to get into the actual GP2 race now? We've talked about T. Jonas not finishing, but I've got qualifying results up here in my nice colour-coded chart. It was an intermediate qualifying with Yaram getting a 131.973. Behind him was God Colours, as you know at the time, with a 131.977. So Thor thousandths in that one, and then behind them was Peter Solheim with a 132.218. Do you think those times are good in the wet? I mean, I don't know. I don't know how good you are with stats, but 4 thousandths between the top two. That's the same pace, isn't it, JB?
That is why we have GP2 and GP3. We see how close the racing is and how close they can get. And the drivers did not hold back. They gave us a tremendous race in the first time with running this division fully. Well, not fully, but the first time running it with I think what capacity drivers we had. Every driver in SFR is quick in their own right, but those two, they could have gone the whole season if Yaram hadn't elected to retire. And Colours to God had not have had that bad luck that could have happened, that destroyed him whole way through the season.
Yeah, man, I'm actually with you on that one. I think it's luck is a strange beast, isn't it? You can't. It's so difficult. Trust me, as a guy that struggles with luck all the time on these F1 games. I have a few notes I've got here. So the super soft tyre on the restart was the most popular. But Colours the God in P2 went for ultra soft tyres. Now you can do the one stop from ultra soft to soft, JB. But do you think that was a smart idea? I mean, he came up the other end. In, I think P3. I didn't get it written down. I didn't put 1 and 2 down. I think he got P3.
Fourth, yeah.
Fourth. So Electro Dan pipped him. So what do you think that was right? Maybe? What do you think he should just gone conservative, gone super softs and then softs?
it's a driver's prerogative to go for what strategy they feel is the best. We only look back at Brazil last night and looking at James Braden, who did 25 laps on his medium tyres, which I didn't think he was going to be able to do. So it's a driver's prerogative to know what they can do. When I raced, was aggressively hard on my tyres. I wore them to the point they were as bold as my granddad. They were terrible. But I know for a fact that Mike, you're much nicer on your tyres because you get paid by Pirelli to make them look good.
It also helps as well for people on a wheel. You can make your tyres last longer than a person on a controller, which always gives you a slight advantage.
That's what the M in Mike Bundy stands for. It's actually Moneybags Bundy.
Moneybags Bundy.
How much did you get for winning the championship?
Yeah, we don't need to discuss this here, surely, guys. But okay, guys. So I'm going to quickly break down some of the other stuff that happened quickly because I have this written down on my note. So there was a lot of battling going on here. Yarum, who took pole, disconnected, unfortunately, so his race null and void. But also there was a battle of Toro Rossos throughout the race, and they came third and fourth. It was a good result for those two. We saw that happen throughout the season, though, didn't we? They were very similar paced, and they did some team driving, but normally they just let themselves go and have a fight with each other, didn't they, JB? Especially us in the comms box, we were loving it.
The Toro Rossos were, I think, the funnest team to watch as a team all season long because they were scrappy on and off track for what the viewers or the people who already watch the streams know, and for the Gp3 drivers that aren't in the chat, they see that Electrodan and Goldcolor's good friends. They sort of would egg each other on a little bit in the chat and have a pop at one another every few races. But they were, I think, the funnest pair to watch because they didn't care whether they brought both cars home in the barrier or both cars home on the podium.
Exactly, and Bundy, as a man that raced them towards the end there, you were at 1.4 behind the two of them. You managed to jump the two of them in the end and claim second spot. How is racing those two? Because as we've been saying, they are teammates, yes, but they will certainly race each other.
Well, they're both very quick guys, and they're both very fair as well. So they give you plenty of respect on the track. So and it was nice to race them, especially all season long. I mean, we were pretty much the top four in the championship, as well as James towards the end. We were all sort of occupying the same piece of tarmac. So it was good fun.
Yeah, I have to agree. And your top three were Peter Solheim, Mike Bundy, and Electro Dan. See, there you go, Jimmy. You're learning more about Mike Bundy. We'll get more to that later on.
Who is this Mike Bundy? I still don't understand what it is.
Right, JB, because you've got it on the screen, do you want to take us around the Sakir circuit in Bahrain quickly whilst I load up the streams and stuff and get to my points of, the stuff
I'll give you a little bit of history about Bahrain. Bahrain started, obviously, back in, I think it was 2004. Or a little bit earlier than that, they were racing in Formula 1, but the race was traditionally a day race. It only had one time since then missing the calendar. That was in 2011 with an oil crisis, I believe it was. Oh, Christ, that was a long time ago. Lots of arguments with all of that, and the FIA elected not to have a race in Bahrain. Come 2014, the 10-year anniversary, so it was 2004 it started, they elected to run it at night, and they realised how pretty the circuit really is at night and how much more racing they get with the cooler temperatures. So we've had a night race at Bahrain ever since, and it's a brilliant circuit. I mean, Mike, you like that circuit, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably one of my favourites. It wasn't my favourite for that race in Gp2 that night, but...
I was going to say, do you remember where you finished?
I remember where I finished, and I remember what happened in quali as well, so...
Yeah, Mike Bundy, you got battered and bruised in that one. But no, I want to quickly take your attention to the finishing qualifying. Sorry to cut you off, JB. Personally, I really like Bahrain, but it was Connor who took pole with a 1:26.917. 6.5 tenths behind him was Ryan Van Doom with a 1:27.546. And then behind him was H. Collins with a 1:27.653. Guys, Connor definitely took the cake on this one, didn't he? He had a great pace around Bahrain, and he wasn't afraid to show it.
No, he wasn't. Yeah. He had pace around that track, and he decided to show it as best he could. And yeah, he did it. I mean, that's what you got to do in qualifying. You got to maximise the car and the setup you have. Traditionally, I would go for a more race setup because I knew I just can't qualify to save my life. So I would have gone for a race setup. But nonetheless, the qualifying and the race setup is very similar at Bahrain. So yeah, it's hard enough to get a race setup right. I learned the qualifying one, so just make it a hybrid.
Cool. So Bundy, again, how do you think? Obviously, I was down there in I think P9 or 10 in qualifying because I think my time was terrible. But 6/10 gives you a lot of confidence going into the race, doesn't it? And Connor definitely had bucket loads of that.
Yeah, it does. I'm kind of the same opinion with of JB. That I tend to more focus on a race setup than a quali setup because I mean you don't get any points for qualifying, so it doesn't really matter where you qualify as long as you finish in the points. So I mean,
well, Mike, you learned that the hard way.
6/10 is a nice gap to have in quali, but I mean he showed the race pace anyway. But in another day he could have been 6/10 in quali and then finished P10. So.
There was only 3 non-finishers, that being Luke Beck, Collins, and Racing Pod. But guys, there was a lot to look at here. I mean, there was a battle between the Renaults all race long. Connor and Ryan had a good fight, and then Ryan span at the autospin curve, and it took him out of the race a little bit. Again, I was down in P9 at one point. I finished in P2. Connor, Connor was miles ahead, so we decided to do another stop actually, which was a smart idea because I went 21 laps on the medium tyres, but Connor didn't have to. He went for another stop and actually pipped me by 2.4 seconds in the end. So it just shows that his pace was major around the circuit, and we saw the beginning of C. Pasley's season as well, as he got P4, and that was a very good result for him. So this was kind of the real beginning of GP3, wasn't it, JB?
GP3 showed again why I say Bahrain should be the start of the season, because Australia doesn't give us the overtaking that we want. Bahrain it's a track surface. It isn't really slippery unless the dust gets on it. It's a surface that's at night, so it's much cooler and the tyres work better. So it shows why we should have racing at Bahrain for the start of the season, but also showing that GP3 weren't just a one-trick pony. They weren't just the league that crashes into everything because they're rookies. It showed that they all had pace over a very different type of track, of a purpose-built track versus a street circuit like Melbourne.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think the racing was really good here, especially again. This is not to my own horn because it was a very bad start. But for someone like me who isn't very good at overtaking, to be able to go from P9 to P2 by the end of the race, that kind of shows how much more exciting the Bahrain Grand Prix is. And again, we saw people like Pro Oliver getting the points. Button Sands made his debut here after he got taken out quite early on the Gp3 race, I believe, in Australia. So again, it was just a really good race. We saw Alco and Weimer struggle in the McLarens a little bit. But again, this was another great race, and I just want to say that it was my favourite of the season. But because we got a lot of races to get through, is it time for a GP3?
GP2.
So, GP2.
I'm fine jumping to GP2. Mike?
Yeah, go for it, mate.
Okay, so we'll go to the qualifier. Again, I've got this all colour-coded so I can talk about strategy. So it was Zucker who took pole in Bahrain with a 1:26.190. Then Yarim in second with a 1:26.207, which gets 17 hundredths in it, I think, is the correct word. And then Pedersen was behind them with a 1:26.264, so that's 74 hundredths behind those two. But again, the front three were in a tenth of each other. I mean, you would expect that from a track like perhaps at Austria, but not Bahrain. I think that just shows how close GP2 was.
I think the difference with GP2 is the fact that they all had very similar race styles and race ideas of what they should do. So I'm assuming the setups were all very similar. So they were producing the same amount of power going down the straights, barring if they were in a tow. So it was really insane to see. It's essentially if they had fixed setups and they were racing, the slightest mistake would have cost them a bit of time. But yeah, again, GP2 showing why and how close they can be.
Well, again, you were talking about the top three, but guys, first of all, I forgot to say there was a red flag situation in qualifying. because there was a setup glitch. So the drivers were like, "We need to restart."
The first
Do you
one
guys
of the
remember this?
season.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Again, Buddy, we're
I
here.
remember setting a lap in the first session, and then in the second session not setting a lap.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll get into the race. So at the start of the race, there was a collision between P2 and P3, which was Yarm and Diabush. That set them back a little bit in the race. They managed to get back there. But guys, the thing about Bahrain, we saw brilliant battles. There was a battle from 8th to all the way to 12th. It wasn't a second. I think Bundy was involved in there because Bundy, no offense, but he had a torrid start to the race. So I think you were involved in there. And then Peder Solheim was out. Then there was battles all over the show once again. So Zoka did a 2-stop, whereas Yarm did the 1-stop, and that came into effect later. JB, do you remember the end of this race? If not, I'll spoil it for you in a minute.
No, I really don't.
There was a 3-way fight between Toro Rossos and Yarm, all the way going down to the last lap, and Yarm got a puncher on the final corner, which ended his race.
Because he lost the rear end, didn't he?
Yeah, and that allowed... no, it wasn't both Toro Rossos, it was Zoka and God Colours. But yeah, he lost the rear end, he got a puncher. To that end of his race, which granted Zoka the lead. But Yarm, he went for the 2-stop, but he ran the super softs, I think in his final stint, and that ruined him, didn't it? You cannot run the super soft that long around Bahrain. It's really risky to go for the super soft to medium strategy. But considering he 2-stopped and still got a puncher, that shows the tyre wear around Bahrain. You've got to be smart, doesn't it, Bundy? You can't be just really pushing on those tyres.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Bahrain's quite a high deg circuit anyway, so I think the 2-stop was the safe bet. I mean, we saw it in Gp3 that the 2-stop was the safe bet. I mean, Connor pitted twice, so that was just a sign that it was the safer way to go.
And again, I want to say, because we were in the box for this one, JB, and I remember vividly the excitement on us when we realised the top 3, they're going to the end, and that is what they did. They were within the same second of each other about 3 laps. You don't get to see that much in F1. What a feeling that is, to see the top people in SFR going at it for the last 3 laps within a second of each other, all overtaken. It's spectacular, isn't it?
It really was a spectacular race. Bahrain show again why I still keep saying it, Bahrain should be start of the season every year. FIA, please listen. But one of the best things about this season was half the time we didn't know who was going to win the race in either division until we got to the checker flag. Anything could have happened, and in fairness, with Yarm in GP2, it normally did. GP3, sorry, it normally did. You know.
I am with you absolutely on that one, and yeah, that's how it went down to a line there, boys. So just to go over the result for you, ladies and gentlemen, Zoka took the win there with gold colours, and Electro Dan in that was your top 3 order there. I didn't go any further because I would have been here for ages. I think Bahrain overall was one of the better weekends of the season, boys. I know there was a lot to enjoy, but I think it was one of the most solid weekends of the season. What do you guys think? Well, I say weekends, but it's more like early midweek.
Yeah, I mean, I think the GP2 race just showed that it was a good sign for the rest of the season, with the 3 people battling on the final laps. It set the tone for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, JB. What's your thoughts on the Bahrain weekend?
It showed what Bahrain so often does, producing good racing, producing lots of overtakes, lots of questions what will happen. I think there was a few DRS failures in different sessions in that, and it made drivers feel special, because I think we featured everyone at least once on the stream at Bahrain.
Yeah, I think that that's the important thing, and again, I think it just exemplifies what F1's about. Racing down to the wire. It wasn't racing in the pit stops, which we'll get into in a minute with the next race, but this was a really good one, and I think it really set the tone for what was to come this season. But anyway, guys, do you want to move on to one of my favourites, China? JB, I'll let you take us through some of your favourite parts of the circuit.
China, turn 1 and 2 here. it's very difficult, but the pit lane exit is what I want to focus on. When coming out of the pit lane, you're basically fed straight onto the racing line in China, so you have to be aware coming out of it. And we almost saw a few collisions there, but nothing too drastic in either division. We saw collisions all over the place. There was controversy at China. It was the first time in Season 4 that we really hit the controversy bug. And it never really went away with SFR. I mean, Mike, I assume you remember this, but also through this week, as we got to China, we actually got the news that the F1 game was going to be released in June. In our time, at the time of recording this, is actually next week. So we're sat there and thinking, balls. And no one was it. We literally were, I think the words of the admin chat were, balls. We've got to think of what we do here. So we put a vote out, and between Bahrain and China, we'd sort of worked out what custom grids we'd gone for, and that's the grid that's shown on the screen now to maximize racing. I will say I did it, so there's a few biased choices in there.
There's Monaco. There's not an F1 season without Monaco.
But there is a Formula E season without Monaco, and that's the one that I care about.
The Formula E is not as good as F1.
And you're going to get kicked. Shush.
Remember, I'm leading.
I will reveal your last name. I will reveal your last name.
Alex Kingdom. There you go. I've said it. I've already said it, I think, on this video. So there.
Right.
Whatever.
So I'm going to tweet a picture of Alex and his phone number if you want to get involved
anyway,
with what Alex looks like. Please do.
Just put like an image of Shrek, and that'll be like correct. No, we're going to go on to China now, and it was Blaz MK. Who may have done something later on in the season, which was quite good. He got a 130.7. He got a 130.765 on the ultra stops, along with Connor in second with a 130.739. So 2800s behind him, and then the 7/10 back was Ryan Von Doom with a 131.522.
Was this the point where I started calling him our favourite supervillain?
I think so. Yes.
I love that name. I still love that name.
JB, I think it showed again Connor, and also this is the first race I think Blaz actually attended. I could be wrong.
Yeah, this was the first time that Blaz and K arrived on the scene in GP3.
What an entrance!
He arrived with controversy because Blaz and K, I believe, is the only driver in SFR that's raced in all three divisions. He was racing in Premier at one point, didn't enjoy that. He went to GP2, again he didn't enjoy that because he wasn't getting on with the cars. He got to GP3. And there was controversy because people were saying he was too fast. People were saying he should have been still at Prem pace. But we held out choosing him there because at that point we were thinking we need an answer to Connor because Connor was quick and everyone was quick in GP3. We thought let's keep Blaz in there, and we're so glad we did because Blaz gave some great racing as he went on.
Absolutely. Now I'm going to quickly get into the race about now because unfortunately, JB, it was the opposite to Bahrain. It was all done in the strategy. I don't know if you remember this, but it was the one stop versus the two stop, which was better, and that's where the racing was really held. It wasn't really a close battle because again, another high deg circuit, but this time there wasn't enough battles in between because it was so difficult. This track, a lot of the younger guys who haven't really played the game for much longer, they struggled like Hengolf. And so those guys come to mind. They struggled with the circuit, but there was a fight at top between Luke Beck, Connor, Blaz, Ryan. But Ryan, though, although he was on the pace, he DNF'd on that one. I don't remember what happened, but that was a surprise. And then there was no change off the start line as well, so everyone's kind of stayed in formation from at least in the top 5. But then Connor lagged out, but he came back and he was in 5th at that time, so he had more work to do. It was a strategy race, so Luke and Blaz was on the 1-stop, Connor was on the 2. No, Luke, Blaz, and Connor were all on 2-stop, but Alco was on the 1-stop, and he managed to get to P1, but because he was on used tyres, he kind of got caught back in. However, I don't know if you remember this one, JB, but Alco he managed to stay on the podium out of nowhere.
Alco was very lucky with getting his tyres going. He was able to keep that little bit, and I think he pushed the car beyond the limits. So beyond what that McLaren really should have been able to do. I think it was something in the region of 92% on the tyres, and he was so lucky that the game didn't just think, and go, let the tyre go, as Yarim had discovered in Gp2, the previous race. But yeah, he got lucky and he stayed on the podium, and that was our first Portuguese podium sitter.
Bundy, again, you probably don't remember this race, to be honest. Do you? Did you watch this one? Again, I'm not going to come to assumptions, but if you don't, I have other questions ready-made for you. It's just because JB was in the box, so he has no excuses.
I missed this one, unfortunately. I do remember the result, but I just yeah.
Well, Bundy, we'll come to you later because something really good happened to you in this particular race.
It really didn't.
Well, no, not the race itself, but you topped something.
I'm not going to say was it me, but for everyone at home, was it me?
Anyway, guys, your finishing order was Luke, then Blaz, then Alco, and you got quite annoyed at Connor at the end of this one, Jamie, because he went for a dive bomb on Alco towards the end. I think it was Alco, and he took him out, but the game on penalties, I think, gave it to Alco. I might be wrong, but I know you got annoyed.
At that point in SFR, we danced around the rule of really starting to smack down on dive bombs because we didn't really enjoy seeing drivers chucking up the inside all the time and doing Hail Mary moves every few laps. And I still stand by that every few corners, if you try and chuck it up the inside all the time, it doesn't produce good racing. It just hurts your time more. So I don't go for it all the time. You could do a cheeky one at a certain point where you know you're not going to hit him, but the hairpin there, it tightened up so easy, and it was a Verstappen-Vettel situation in 2018. It was never going to work, and he still went for it. You could do the whole like balls out move at the end, but at the same time, behave a bit, you know?
Yeah, I'm with you. Again, I have to agree, but let's get on to GP3 because I've got down here. JB Rages. No, yeah, GP2. JB Rages.
Oh, God.
Do you remember this race? First of all, this was the most messy race on the calendar. There was a lot of dive bombing, there was a lot of DNFs, but also, JB, do you remember the special treat this race?
Oh, was that where we talked about the Calpon and Nurofen?
No, but also my ghost car was in the race.
Yes, of course. Oh, God.
I remember that.
So let's get into this.
In fairness, we were sat there after the race, and I think all the admins sat there. We sat around the table, pints in hand, and we were like, we really should have restarted that race.
Also, I just want to say that, like, genuinely, it was not my fault. I looked at the live chat replay, and a lot of people were like, sort it out, and I was like, ooh. So yeah, again, I didn't do that on purpose. I didn't sabotage the race, but you know, again, it was quite aggravating. There was a lot of silly moves. I'll come up to those in a second. But let's quickly go over qualifying. I think that's an important thing to talk about. Qualifying around here, though, it's one mistake can lose you a lot of time, can it?
Can, especially in that wiggly section just after the first sector. We can see it on the map here. If you follow it round from the triangle round just past the what would look like a second hairpin, you can go wide there and lose time. It's all about staying online and on track here at China, and it shows if you lose it, especially again the sort of hairpin, the carousel going onto the back straight. If you sail out a little bit wide there, you've lost about 3 tenths. You sail out a little bit too tight to the corner, you can lose about 5 tenths. So it shows how difficult this track is.
Well, we can talk about difficulty because it was Mr. Mike Bundy that took pole here in China with a 1:32.08. But he was not alone. He had Electro Dan 9 thousandths behind him with a 1:32.17, and Peder Solheim 16 thousandths behind Mike Bundy with a 1:32.24. And we said there was a lot of chance for a mistake, but Mike, the drivers behind you, they didn't make mistakes, and that meant you couldn't make one either.
Yeah, Zach, I think I was on the softer tyre as well compared to everyone else who was behind me, so I tried to do a different.
Well, you went on
strategy.
the ultra softs at the end. You had to go to the opposite. You had to bolt on them. But yeah, what just an impressive lap, mate. But let's get into the race because I want to hear JB's reactions. I'm gonna read out some of the goss, and this is solely for JB.
Did you write down what I said?
No. I'm just gonna tell you what happens.
Thank God for that. I've not had enough coffee for this.
So my ghost car ruins the start and takes out Lee now.
Did he take out me now? Because he got 2 points on my list.
There's a 5 on that one. There's a 5 wide situation where Zocker pile drives into everyone. 5 wide into turn 3. He just goes up the inside and pile drives people off.
Yes,
this is just having fun at this point.
T. Jonas was involved in his span, didn't he?
Yeah. Dan spins, taking out him, Carl, and him, Carl spins, and then Bundy goes down to P16 because of this. So sorry,
There's the controversy we're talking about.
No, that's the reason was that because of that was obviously because there wasn't well on my screen there wasn't contact between me and Dan, but I think the game did the rain light.
That
issue.
thing is deadly on this game. That thing was like mad.
The reason why I went down so many positions was because I was trying to let Dan back through. So that's why I dropped that. And then obviously I think it was Farfborough then in front of me dive bombed somebody, and then I got wing damage on whoever that was. I can't remember who it was. So yeah, that was my race done then pretty much.
Then Peder Solheim spins a lap later.
Yes, I remember that. I knew it was one of the McLaren spinning.
Then, just to show at lap 4 how bad this race was in terms of quality of driving, my ghost car was in P12.
Because Alex can't get any higher in GP2 without actually being a ghost.
Did you actually finish the GP2 race then?
Yeah, I did. I did finish the GP2 race anyway. I finished in the points.
There was a petition out. Sorry, that was like over puberty. There was a petition out trying to say that you could get the points that your car scored.
I should have got points. But then I take out gold colours in P2 on lap 9, and he gets 10 seconds back. Again, when I say I mean the ghost car.
Spooky, scary, ghosty cars.
Then there was a battle from 6th to 9th, including Pedal, Cattle, Gamey, and Mr. Bundy himself. So again, Bundy, although it wasn't the race for you, mate, for P1, you got yourself in a lot of issues, you got yourself in a lot of battles. Then you decided to pit on the super softs, the ultra softs, and you went on a charge, mate. So that was good. And then me, the safety car. was,
what are you doing? You're forced India.
Yeah. I was blocking from 9th to 12th, which included Bundy, by the way. So
the amount of complaints I got about that. Oh, I just remember now.
I remember the chat afterwards in GP.
What
GP2,
the hell was that?
Everyone was using colourful language.
They were talking.
I call it experimental language.
There was petitions out for Alex to get the points. There was also petitions out for Alex to never race again.
To be fair, if that went through, that would have been ridiculous because it was nothing to do with me.
Exactly, but that shows, Codemasters being, Codemasters.
Anyway, let's continue on. And then there was a battle towards the end for 6th to 9th again, this time with Peder Solheim, Mers, Smelly Badger, and Mr. Bundy. So, Bundy, you were in a lot of battles here. Did you at least enjoy the race? I know you went down, but in actual racing terms, did you like the scraps?
Goes down at all.
Thanks for that, JV. Yeah, I quite enjoy obviously battling as long as it's fair racing. It's quite good fun. I had a rare battle with Lee, who I hadn't battled. I don't think I battled for the rest of the season. And it was nice to sort of like.
Last time you battled him was USA in season 3.
Yeah, the last time. yeah.
Right, from now on, JB is not allowed to mention USA in season 3.
Lee won that race. Nothing else happened. What are you on about?
It was nice to reminisce on the season before. So
was that when you signed a pit wall? Go on. He's getting annoyed with me, I can tell. Mate, you're really on
Right guys, let's move to the Red Bull ring. Let's move to the Red Bull ring, which is for GP3. Now we're going to talk about the absolutely brilliant qualifying. So it was Connor again, 1 minute 4.782 on pole. 3 tenths behind him was Ryan Van Doom with a 105.104. Again, that's the milliseconds. And then Pro Oliver on the super soft tires, the 2 on ultra softs, but Pro Oliver on super softs did a 1.105.218, so a 15.2. Again, 4 tenths away from Connor on the super softs from Pro Oliver. He showed moments of greatness, didn't he, JB? But it wasn't the season for him this year.
Pro Oliver had some brilliant results. He tried his absolute hardest, bless his heart, but he couldn't get it all hooked up all the time. And
Well, it was a good weekend for him this weekend, I'll tell you that.
It was. I remember where he was.
Sorry, I'm calling it a weekend. It's just it's just in my brain.
Yes. But yeah, he has flashes of greatness. He had some brilliant racing, but again, it came to a point where his inexperience unfortunately bit him pretty hard, and he ended up making mistakes. But it wasn't one this weekend. This week, you got me doing it now. This week in SFR.
I'm gonna just call it the weekend at this point. But then let's get into the race. So there was a bit of an error there from Alco. He got a jump start. We didn't see many of those this season, but this was a rare occasion where we saw one. Then Collins was into P3 on lap 1 here. Didn't know where he qualified exactly. I think it was like 5th. But he got all the way to P3. But then randomly he DNF'd. He didn't hit the wall. You saw his car drive away, but he retired, and you were confused. Then Ryan got down to P10, so it was very scrappy, even though he started P2. Oliver got into P2. Then it was so Connor went for a strategy ultra softs to softs, which didn't work for him because the rain came, ladies and gentlemen. So it was Blaz and Connor. It was Blaz and Connor for the win all the way through, and Blaz was playing catch up until Connor decided to do a stop for the ultra soft tyres a lap before the rain came down. I don't know whether he forgot, whether it was a lapse in just in judgment, but yeah, that had Blaz the win, and Connor for the rest of it was spinning out, but the rain was ridiculous, wasn't it? It was almost wet, like properly wet conditions. I mean, it wasn't enough for intermediates, JB, but you got to say, all the drivers that finished that race, insane. Well done to them.
It shows how difficult this game was. The game was very lax when it came to rain tyres. We didn't really see much uses of the full wet tyres because they were like, oh, the intermediate tyres can go all the way through the wet, even when you see spray going up higher than the rear wings. But when it's just that point where it was definitely the crossover period between the wets and the dries, and the game could not decide or would not make it wetter to bring out the intermediates. So the drivers risked it, and yeah, paid off to all the drivers that finished, and it gave Pro Oliver his best result of the season.
Yeah, so the results was Blaz, Oliver, and Pasley. We'll see more of Pasley. Again, this is kind of the start of Pasley's season, wasn't it? This first podium.
It was.
And, you know...
I still didn't manage to coach him into the podium chat. That came later.
Yeah. But Bundy, did you catch this one? Did you not?
I did. I caught certain bits.
You know, JV will love the fact that I crashed out, but I helped him on commentary, so he can't be too mad. And then the Connor Central cam was domed because at the time I was in the championship and I didn't want Connor to overtake, so I was quite engaged in that. And he kept spinning out to my delight, but
yeah, you were pretty biased on that one, I think. You sat there, he spat, yes.
You called me Daniel Ricciardo at one point. I don't know why. But you went, there's Daniel Ricciardo again. Don't know what that was about. I think it was no use of yes, but
you basically said, get it, go get it.
But also, not to have salt in the wounds, but Connor span out on the last corner, and that allowed, I believe, Dr. Special Energy to pit P4.
I think we've all done that. In fairness, we've all span out at the last corner at one point.
Oh no, absolutely, and you know, again looking back at it now, when I left the championship, it was a good race from Connor. You know, you can't doubt the man. I mean, obviously this was his last appearance, I believe, in a SFR this season, but he had a very good run, and unfortunately it ended in heartbreak for him. But this was tough, to say the least.
It was, and it was the first appearance of SpeedForce raining once more.
Anyway, do you want to get on to Mr. Bundy's race?
Oh, hold on. I've just seen where he finished. I don't want to. No, yeah. Mike.
So,
Yeah.
I'm here.
So the qualifying went as follows. It was Yarum with the super soft tyres on a 14333, God Colours in second on the ultra softs, a 104.498, and then Mr. Mike Bundy with a 104.516. Poor qualifying from God Colours in the fact that he went for the ultra softs and he couldn't get the lead on qualifying there. And I wouldn't say poor, I'd say possibly the wrong call if you didn't feel comfortable on the track.
I think it's again down to what I said before. The drivers running very similar setups and how close they were and had the same philosophy about driving. I think that was the issue. They were running pretty much the same strategy, which affected them. You know, especially with Gold Colours, who unfortunately just didn't get it right.
Absolutely. Bundy, P3 there. Were you comfortable with yours going from super soft to soft? There was no rain in this race, I don't believe. So I think, I didn't write it down, so I hope that wasn't.
No, it was full dry conditions all race. Super soft to soft. I mean, it was an easy one stop. Was it one stop? It must have been a one stop. Yeah, it was an easy one stop.
Well, we'll talk about your race later because you had a good one this week. So we'll start with Electro Dan, who was a bit of a wild card in this one. He did end up to go on and finish pretty well, but he was the only person in the top 10 to start the softs, which was interesting.
Where did he qualify in the top 10 again?
P9, I think, P8.
Hello, Yara. We've just been talking about you.
He was the only one of those guys to finish it on the softs. But going into the first corners, on that one the top three didn't change positions, so Yaron, God Colours and Buddy stayed the same. Now then we're gonna... So God couldn't find a way through in the opening stint, which he really needed to do. Yes, he didn't get qualifying, but he couldn't. Again, you said it's down to setups and the brilliant drivers, but again, that when you've got that tyre advantage, you've got to use it, and unfortunately, it didn't really go too well for God Colours today.
Again, I'm going to keep saying it's down to that setup. Everyone was running very similar setups all season long, so at no point did we ever think someone had a clear advantage. But yeah, it just.
I think it goes down to it. I think to be honest, it just summed up God Colours' season in a way, because he was quick, but he never sort of got that slight bit of luck he needed just to get over the line.
He seemed very competent in qualifying, but in the race something seemed to fall apart. But anyway, we'll continue on. So lap 4 on that 10 there was a 4-way fight for the lead with Yaron, God Colours, Peter Solheim and Mr. Bundy in that perspective order there. Then on lap 12, 12 laps on the ultra soft tyres for God Colours. It really ruined his race there, and I think that's why the super soft was the better option, really. But that gifted Bundy past God Colours. But then lap 13, Peter Solheim crashes. But his race was over, but he didn't get a DNF, so that was okay for him. So Bundy, you lost 7 seconds in the pit stop because so now the fight was just between God Colours and Yarum. I don't really know what happened, but I knew after the pit stops you lost some time. I don't know whether you had to serve a stop go or so you had to wait for someone, but you lost time. I don't really. Do you remember? You might not.
No, I probably just was slow.
Fair enough.
Slower than Mercedes, how is that not a lie?
So the dad on the Supers was closing with 9 laps to go. He was 5 seconds back, but then within top 3 within 2 seconds with 2 laps to go there towards the end. But God Colours got a punch on the last lap, which kind of was curtain to him, which gifted Bundy back P3. I don't want to say that harshly to you, Bundy, but you got gifted there, didn't you?
I mean, yeah, I did. I was nowhere near. I don't think I was thinking about 6 or 7 seconds behind the top 3, all race. And then when I saw God Colours had a puncher and was going slowly, I was like, that's just really unfortunate.
I'm in the wrong circuit. But anyway, guys, that was the Austria weekend. Not as strong as Bahrain, but definitely better than Canada and Australia for me. I think there was some really good racing in there. I'll try to rank them as we go in my own head. So
you just said Canada.
China. That summed up last season. Do you remember Barca Brazil? Good Christ. Right, shall we move on?
That was like, yeah. Hang on, let me get the piece of paper up. But then we can talk about this. Where do you want to go though? Because the GP2 race happened first on this occasion. So do you want to do that one? Get that one out of the way?
Yes.
Because that happened first.
That was a front. Yeah, what happened with that? There was a huge PlayStation Network issue. But then it turned out, we all assumed it was PlayStation Network, but then it turned out on Tuesday night that it was Codemasters. Codemasters servers, or lack of them, had a massive shutdown. So GP3...
Codemasters didn't pick up on it though, did they? They were like, it's not us, it's PlayStation.
They didn't pick up right up until the day later, on the Wednesday, and they were like, it might have been us. So... GP3, unfortunately, then had to double book themselves the week after and do France and then Italy. And I think that affected some results, but at the same time, it gave some great racing. So GP2 were the lead series at France.
Yes. So we'll talk about qualifying. We'll talk about qualifying really quickly. It was Electro down on pole with a 1:30.062. Yarum in second with a 1:30.140. And then Bundy with a 1:30.203. So again, the top three within 2 tenths of each other. Close qualifying continues in SFR.
As I said,
I think was a staple.
When we first made it to France, this was one of my favourite tracks on the game. It was an absolute mare to commentate though, because again we hadn't learned the track, and it's going to get even worse because in 2019 they actually changed the track layout slightly. So we're going to have some more fun. Will that be on the 2019
game, or is it too early?
It will be on the 2019 game. The pit lane now isn't on the start-finish straight. The entry is at the end of turn 14. So essentially, you just go straight on.
Oh dear. Thank God. Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Well, we got that this weekend in Real Formula 1. Plug the Sky F1. Pay us, please. But yeah.
But anyway, do you want to get into the race? Because we've still got a lot of races to go through, and we've been going for almost an hour. So,
stop talking, JV.
This is going to be Bundy. This is going to be, guys. This is going to be a bumper episode of SFR because I was up all night doing this. So you're welcome.
I've had coffee today, so I can smell colours.
So we're going to talk about the jump starts again. Yarum, I think he's in the comments, so I won't be too mean. But Yarum got a jump start there, but he kind of did what most drivers do when you get a jump start. You realise you've done it, so you shut off the gas, and that put him down. It put him down into P12 and going into turn 3.
You got to say, the driver etiquette-wise, that's brilliant. Because I don't really, if he had sped off like Maldonado style and just like actually disappeared off the grid, I wouldn't have been happy to say the least. But to drop the throttle and to think, no other word for it, shit, I've done this. That's great, you know. Oh, well, it's a season review. Got to have something. I said balls, and I said shit. I've done it again.
No, but I disagree with you actually, Bundy. I think I get the etiquette thing, but I don't think completely shutting off was the right way to go about it. Maybe powering off the gas. Bundy, how do you feel? I don't think completely shutting off, which is what he did.
I think it's just a natural instinct, to be honest. I mean, I've had races where I've jump started and I instantly lift off the throttle.
To quote JB, he went, "Oh shit," and then tried to twit the game and go, "I didn't move," and then too late, which is promoted the Toro Rosso boys.
We'll just excuse JV's French at the French Grand Prix.
Oh yeah. It's the natural reaction to when you drop the clutch is to keep going. But as soon as you see the thing hit up, your eyes flick up, you see the black and white flag, you drop the throttle because you're thinking, it's almost like you take your hands off the wheel, put your hands over your eyes, just thinking, why have I done that? I've raced this game, at this point I've done it 4 races, I haven't done one. It's like, Jesus. I think someone has to get it every season.
Yeah, I think you're right. And also, this one, it provided good racing, but not all around the field. It was just a fight for the top this time. But one man in here will be very happy about that. So the 2 Toro Rossos in the lead, but then Mr. Mike Bundy. I don't know why I've called him that same time. So that's just to annoy JB that I've got Mr. in front of his name, and I call JB instead of giving him a title.
I have a title. Bundy... I'm a lord.
Bundy, you split the Toro Rossos again, battling with the Toro Rossos. but you take the lead as well, and it's a great race-long battle with Dan, Electro Dan. That, as I said, goes race-long. And again, me and JB, I don't know whether I was in the box for this one. I can't honestly remember. I remember watching the race, but there was seeing a race that lasts the entire length of the race itself is immaculate, isn't it? Especially on a track like France, you expect the cars to kind of blow past each other with the long straight, which I know has been like cropped in half. But even so, there was a lot of overtaking. There was a lot of good close action, especially between the top two, and that showed this weekend, didn't it, JB?
It did. I still say where that chicane should be. They should just have a break in the DRS and just have another short DRS zone instead of having a chicane, because they could just plant the throttle down and be more entertaining. Have like full DRS switching, but but yeah, a race long battle. Even I say esports is a loose term. In league racing as a whole, is a rare occasion as it is in Formula One. It really is. And that's where you celebrate it. And again, France is one of my favourite tracks because you can get that if people are running similar setups. Again, and it shows off why the Gp2 guys knew what they were doing. Exactly as Gp3, they still had some fun at that track.
Again, I agree. But Mike, do you want to tell us who won this one?
I don't remember.
Mike,
it was you. you got to rub it into JB. JB, I know you do. I know you didn't race this season, but how many race wins did you get? I know you didn't race, and next season you will be. But how many race wins did you get?
I won a classic championship, and I didn't set foot on the I think I set foot on the podium once, and I won the classic championship.
You did a Keke Rosberg.
I did. Well, I didn't even win it. I finished in second of the classic championship. But no, Bundy, at that point, I made a big deal of it because I don't think he'd won since Brazil last season at that point. And that was, at that point, I was sort of worried, thinking, hold on, where's all this pace gone?
I don't think my pace had gone anywhere. I think just everyone else had got quicker.
And also, speaking of pace, he didn't fly. No offense to you, Bundy, at all. I think that just shows the good racing. You had a very good race. You had a slog with the two Toro Rossos. Again.
Yeah, I mean, I think.
What is it with you and the Toro Rossos?
I don't know. We just seem to be like.
Is that hinting to the one team that's going to pay more money to get Mike Bundy out of Mercedes next season?
It just reflects really on where we were in the constructors and drivers in the end. As the top two teams,
Spoilers,
I think that just proved that. Well, I didn't say who won, did I? I think it just proved that we were along with McLaren, we were the top three teams at that point in the championship.
Not gonna doubt that one at all, mate.
Probably would have been nicer if I had a teammate, but at the start of the season because I had no wingman.
Right, anyway, let's get into next Monday, where it was GP3's time to hit. Why did I forget the name? JB, help me, you know this. I know.
The Castellet.
Thank you. Just have a little. Let's talk about qualifying and a certain Primeval Rex took pole position here again.
Now, I want to take over for a second.
With a smugness, on his face.
But also, I want to take over for just a second because at that point, you were worried at that point in the championship. You were really not happy with the car. And I said to you, you were fast in preseason testing. This race in preseason testing was the best preseason test we had at a track which was new to everyone at that point in the game. So when you were racing,
it was like deja vu, though, wasn't it? In the end,
it really
the same
was,
thing happened.
and it felt so crap. I was sat there trying to find a way to make it seem better on stream, but I was thinking there's no point because he's going to be so annoyed.
And that I was, but anyway, we'll get into the time. So it was me that got pole with the 131.022. Behind me was Racing Podge, actually. I think that was his best qualifying of the season as well, with a 131.079. And then behind was some driver called C. Pasley, who we will never hear of again this season, with a 131.104. All top three there within a tenth of each other. Again, close qualifying. Let's get into the race because I really want to get into this one. Because it's a dull spot on my.
Were it wet? Was it wet?
It got
Wasn't
wet.
that the
It was
first wet race of the season, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't fully
Second.
wet. It started dry and it got wet. But
Material. Can I just say
So-
I
so
almost said something really inappropriate there.
Yeah, I nearly just said that's what she said.
We are grown ups in SFR. Is my voice still
By the
great?
way-
For God's sake.
By the way, now the season's over, JB's lost it. He's always like, be professional, Alex. Now he's gone and now he's lost it.
I've had
He has his
I've had
boundaries.
coffee, Jen. I've had a really bad
He's had
day,
his
so I'm just
boundaries.
enjoying my laugh.
But we went 3 wide in the first corner, which you normally shouldn't do, and there was tons of collisions. And the Hasses were the top bit. They both went to the back. But then there was rain on the way. I thought this got on the soft tyres and the pit stops. See, Pasley went on the super softs, and it was game over, wasn't it, JB? I mean, let's be honest. It was a lapse possibly in strategy, but he went on the super softs. I went on the softs, thinking rain's going to come. It'll be the faster tyre, but it just came too quick for that to be an effect, didn't it?
It was a risk that everyone took, and as I think I said it on stream. You can take assumptions that the rain. You don't know how heavy the rain's going to come down. You don't know how wet the track's going to get. Whether you're even going to touch the intermediate tyres. So it's a big lottery what you do, and you took the logical effort of going for the soft tyres, but you just didn't have enough time before they called it you're in for the intermediates, which was unfortunate, but still you took the logical decision.
Yeah, I mean, I ended up in P4 in the end, but speaking of intermediate tyres, it almost went to full wet towards the end, didn't it, JB? I don't remember really so well, but it hammered it down within like 5
I don't
minutes.
know
it went
why
to
we
intermediates.
bought those. I don't know why we brought those from Pirelli, because we never used them. We still got the 2016 ones hiding somewhere.
But there was genuinely, I would assume that there was not, as soon as the intermediates didn't hit, there was not one overtake.
And
Not one.
yeah, because drivers, they were predominantly, because the race was predominantly dry, wasn't it? So they were still on dry setups, weren't they?
Yep.
I think it just shows the power of DRS around that track.
And yeah, DRS really helped on that track.
But the finishing order was Ryan Van Doom, Blaz, and Steve Hasley. No, I'll do it properly. So Ryan Van Doom got the win with Blaz and Steve Hasley. Your favourite supervillain took the win. I don't know whether was it his only one? I feel like I'm wrong.
No, he won again later on.
I've written it down. I've written it down somewhere.
Yeah,
but,
I'm looking at the
I
standings
can't
now, so I can tell you he did win later on in the season. I won't tell you.
I mean,
where,
I've
though.
only got stats up to Japan, so that's when your standings come in hand and stuff. I obviously look at the streams to get the qualifying time to stuff up. But we're going to move on to Italy. Let's go, Monza.
Yes.
Again, this time we're sticking with GP3 for now. So if you had to take a pick of who got pole here, JB, I'm going to do something fun. I'll say it's someone that hasn't got pole yet this season. I think it was his only pole this season. Yes, it was. Who was it?
Crikey.
I'm not going to give you the car. I'm not going to give you the car because I'll give it away.
Before we do that, we didn't really talk in France about the emergence of gaming things who moved down from GP2 to France. He had a strong race.
Again, he had a solid race. I think he came 5th behind me.
Not in France. No, he crashed.
Oh, did he? Okay, I can't remember. I'll be honest. It was like 3 AM at this point.
But oh god, who got pole?
Bundy, do you want to interject if you know, or do you want to take a guess?
I'm gonna guess. Was it C. Pasley?
Was it gaming?
No, No, it was neither. It was Alco. Alco took pole in Italy. With Alson Senegal in 2nd as well, so a very good qualifier for Alson. So it was a 1:20.3 for Alco and a 1:20.567 for Alside. And then Ryan Van Doom was a 1:20.651. That was all on the super soft tyres. This one was a rough one for me, JB, because you had Farth on commentary with you, and you know how that goes.
Wait, Farth was a good commentator. He loved it. He only came onto commentary to start abusing you after what you were doing to him.
Did he get a taste of your own medicine after France? You were doing the same to him.
I don't get where this comes from, because I'm not mean to Farth at all. I just tell it as it is.
Excuse me, but the best one was Austria.
no, all I'm
So look back at Austria. The best one was when you crashed out and Farford ditched you on. I got on board with Private Rex and bang!
The best one is when in China my ghost car beat him.
But the best one on commentary was when back in Austria when you were driving and then suddenly you lost the rear end and hit the wall, and Farf said, "Oh, just go look at Private Rex," and you crashed into the wall. And it was great because you saw Toro Rosso look at the commentary box and throw a bill at them.
But I joined your commentary for that one.
Yeah, that was the most awkward commentary session on planet Earth. I was sat there like, I feel like I'm between my two parents who are divorcing.
So guys, it was an intermediate start here. We're going to move on because I'm sick and tired of TV. So it's intermediate starts here, and there was a virtual safety car on lap 1.
Yeah, something we didn't see much of the season because that button.
Pasley.
At that point, I think race director Lee Nell, he left the button open and his cat walked over and just pressed it. And that's often what happened when virtual safety car came out this season.
But no, see, Pasley was put into second because of this. Pasley gets past Alco, which was a great battle, but then Alco manages to get past him again. There was a battle that continued between those two all the way along. This again was the beginning of Pasley's good performances in terms of race. Didn't actually finish in the top 3, but Alco begins to run away. Then Pasley versus Ryan for P2. Then Meaty Soldier crashes, which caused a safety car. This was a hectic race. Then Ryan gambles for drives very early on, and that loses him, unfortunately, any chance of doing well for this. Blaz into P3, which was a close one with Pasley and Gamey close behind them. It was honestly one of the strangest battles of my life to see those three go at it. But then Blaz goes into Alco, but Alco undercuts the drives, and he gets a second and a half in front. That just shows the power of good strategy, doesn't it, JB? Because you have to think Alco, not the strongest driver in terms of pace, but was smart enough to have that initiative.
It does. Strategy is such a big thing with the Pirelli rubber that we did bring for the season. It looks to be even more temperamental next season with what Pirelli are showing us. Thanks, Codemasters. But yeah, strategy is such a big thing, and it seems that all tracks really became high tyre wear tracks as the season went on. So it was get the strategy right, but also be able to race at the same time, because people were going to be on the same strategy. As soon as they sussed out what you were doing, they were trying to copy.
Well, unfortunately, Blaz gave everything he could. He closed in right on last bit, but he touched the back of Alco in going into Parabolica and spanned the car. He managed to keep it in P2. And again, Blaz, we'll get on to him more later, but effectively it didn't really matter. But why would you go for me going into Parabolica on the last lap? It was silly.
Again, it's that racer's mentality of it's the last corner, you've got to give it something unless you're genuinely too far back. He gave it something. He was at one point he was alongside, but he did just tap the back. And
it's the right line in Parabolica, isn't it? You've got to get that right line to get the right.
Yeah, it's like China. You can lose so much time in Parabolica. I've got to make sure that I say that in the right way. But it was, that was funny. But yeah, again, it shows how difficult it was. And this was the 6th round, and at that point, we had no clear championship leader in either series.
Again, no, we didn't. But no, Alco won that one with Blaz in second, Laserlord third. Good result for Alco. But did you catch this one?
No, it wasn't Laserlord third.
It was. Gamey finished third, but Laserlord got because Gamey. Oh, was he promoted after?
No, Gamey had. There was a weird penalty glitch, wasn't there, or something?
Yes, Gamey was awarded third.
Okay, well, on the stream, Laserlord picked up third. My bad. Thank you for the correction there, JB. Again, Gamey, there you go. That's his first real, proper good result in GP3. We'll see more of this come this season, but I really want to focus on Alco right now. A driver that struggled this season, it's fair to say. He had some really good performances in China. He was okay around Australia. He was very good here at Italy. He has some strong race tracks. He just needs to become a bit more consistent, doesn't he, JB? And then he could actually be a force to be reckoned with within GP3.
I've said it multiple times before. I think the cars don't want equal cars. They have equal amount of downforce, equal amount of power, equal amount of tire wear. I still think the cars drive differently. I still think that there's levels of cars where they do drive differently. I think McLaren is still one of the harder cars to drive due to the 2018 car not being the greatest car in the world. Which is saying something, see, as a Williams did so well. The question is, was that down to driver or was that down to mechanics? I still think the steering.
It's got to be a bit of both, though.
Yeah, it's a bit of both. I think that the cars still do handle differently. I had an argument once with someone who was like, "Oh, I don't want to drive the Racing Point, the Force India as he called it, because it was it didn't like the way it handled, didn't like the way it turned a corner." Well, you know what? The simple fact is, it turned the corner. At least deal with it. Poor Alco, look at him. He couldn't even get round the corner.
Yeah, we'll move on to, unless you have anything to say, Bundy, we'll move on to the race that you were involved in Italy. Do you want to say anything about this race? I like the fact that it's been mostly me and Jamie, and Bundy's just like here, like, yeah, I was there.
Well, again,
I can't really remember the races, even though I was involved in most of them. All I remember is who I was battling.
We're banking on you for the last two races.
I don't remember. I'm so sorry.
But then we'll go to Gp2 here in Italy. I'm just getting my Google Docs up here for this one. Can I have Google Docs? Deal with it. There it is.
Other documentarian devices are available.
Other medication is available. Is something we've said since I don't know why.
I had to use that so many times because we don't favour things. Anyway, on to Gp2.
All I'm saying is, if they by the end of the top 9 in JB's time at SFR, if they can make a compilation of every time JB's gone, this is available or something. Hilarious. Anyway, Gp2 in Italy, it was Pedersolheim. No, it wasn't Pedersolheim. I mean, one of those. It was Owen who took pole with a 19.762. Then it was Honey Badger with a 19.845, and then Pedersolheim was third on qualifying with a 119.986. Qualifying a bit more spread out this time, but again very close, and you can't really make a mistake in Gp2, can you?
Mike Bundy.
No, you can't. It's that's probably the beauty of both of our leagues. If you make one mistake, you're going to end up quite far down the field. Because I think going into a few races, we were less than a second between the whole field at some of them. So it's just mental, to be honest.
Anyway, do you guys want to get into this one and let's enjoy the race for what it was?
Yeah, go on.
So once again, it was a very messy lap one. It was a poor start for Owen and Honey Badger. They went to P3 and 4 respectively. Honey Badger especially, considering he was second and he went down to fourth. But
that
Owen
was Honey Badger's
not
first reappearance. Sorry, in SFR.
It was, yes. It was a very messy lap one. I've got it written down here. I don't know why. I can't remember, but I put messy lap one. But there was a battle for the top three. The top three was now Pedersolheim, Farth, and Owen. Then Pedersolheim managed to get a 1.5 second gap. I don't know if you remember this, Bundy, but there was a time where it was Mercedes versus Renault for second to fifth. It was the two Renaults versus the two Mercedes.
I do, because that's the first race I had a teammate for a long time. That's where the bromance appeared between me and Honey Badger.
But also, you decided to go quite long on the super softs here, and it worked out for you in the end. And there was a Renault fight for P5 with Owen beating Farth. But overall, though, Pedersolheim not troubled in this one. He led from almost start to finish, really.
Yeah, it was. That's the first one. That race, I was just happy with second, but I couldn't catch Pedder. Pedder was too quick, and I think that pretty much cemented that he was going to be a title.
Pedder was on rails there. He was not. His attitude with the race was not changing. He was like Marc Marquez. He just drove and it didn't change. You know, nothing would stop him.
Oof. Yeah, I mean, again, it was just a really good race in Pedersolheim. Good for you as well, Bundy. I have to say, to get second, good result for you. And Yarum in third as well.
Do you want to know the thing is, though? That was Pedder's last win. And they were 6 rounds in out of 14.
Yeah, it's been a difficult one, isn't it?
And do you know why?
Why?
You know why? Is the last win.
I don't.
Because a certain Williams appeared on the grid.
Mm-hmm.
Whew. I feel like I'm absolutely losing my mind here. Oh, I know why. We'll get to him.
I'm also looking at the standings, and there's a very nice number next to Mike Bundy's name on that one.
Okay, well, now we're going to move to Germany, the Hockenheim Ring.
Oh God.
Are you guys ready?
No.
Can I take you through the race on this one? Or at least the podium results on this one?
What, for GP3? Because that's what I got to do first.
Yeah.
Well, sure, but I've got the race through here, so I can. This is GP3.
Well, I want to go through a little bit of information, because at that point, Smelly Badger was not enjoying GP2 whatsoever. But he wasn't publicly complaining, as many people were. He was sat there and he was quietly complaining within the team, and the team elected to talk to the GP3 officials about getting him a reserve drive in GP3, and my God, did he show up!
You know, yeah, that's what it's all about, isn't it? Showing up, and he did that very much so, but we'll get onto that a bit later in the race. But first, we'll talk about qualifying. Again, it was quite spaced, really, for Germany. A shorter track. It was a 1:11.889 for gamey things on pole. Dr. Special Energy came second with a 1:12.182, and then third was Blood and Sands with a 1:12.361. So two people you wouldn't expect in the top three in Dr. Special Energy and Blood and Sands. Now, this is not having go at Blood and Sands either. But he came in with a lot of expectation, didn't he, JB? He had moments, but he didn't. You know, he left midway through the season, and then whenever he would pop up, he would always be involved in races. But he seemed to DNF, or just seemed to not be able to get in clean air.
What unfortunately happened with Blood and Sands is that he had a big internet issue. The Scotsman had a massive internet issue, and he, rightly so, he said, "It's not safe enough for me to race, and I'll just cause more crashes than anything else." So he took time out the season. He came back, did as many races as he could, but he still couldn't get it working. And it was unfortunate because Blood and Sands, he should have been one of the principal drivers in that series to be at the top, but he couldn't do it because of his internet. And I think he's signed up to come on for next season, so we can obviously hopefully see what he can do with. I think it's more of a game rather than his internet.
It's definitely going to be interesting, the mix-up. I don't know how we're going to tier it next season, because I think is there plans to do like a tiering night, like a qualifying
there will be pre-season testing, and that's all that can be said right now, because we haven't got.
There's new game, new rules. Yet. New game, new rules, as I'm concerned. But
we haven't bought the new cars yet.
All you've got to concern yourself with, Alex, is you might have to race with JB.
I'm not going to be in GP2.
Here's the issue, though. Me, Mike, Lee, and the other admins haven't pulled together our money yet to buy all the cars yet. We still got to get a hold of those Mercedes.
I've not been paid yet, Lee. Not been paid my
You're not getting paid. We've been through this. You're going to buy your new Mercedes.
No, I've not been paid my fees.
I've not been paid, and I did tons of qualifying. I've stayed up all day. I didn't get paid.
Lee's made an excellent point, guys. We are pulling a long shift right now because we've been doing it for over an hour.
This is longer than the race and qualifying session.
Hopefully you guys are enjoying this and not finding it boring. But anyway, let's talk about it. So Gamey flies away from the start. Ryan goes into P2, and he wasn't even in the top 3 coming into the qualifying. Brad went down to P5, and there was a virtual safety car on lap 5. So there was a lot of stuff happening, which gave Smelly Badger to go to up to P2 because he was on the super softs. So he just really was able to stay out long. And,
Sorry, I'm gonna have to interrupt because Lee has just absolutely got the comment of the season here. He said, "I'm like Bundy, tight as a buddy's ass."
Well, anyway, so I don't remember this, but this is when I injured my hand, and I decided to go long because there was rain on the way.
Oh yeah.
I was in the lead. I was leading for a long time, and I got a puncture on the soft tyres because the rain did not come.
Yeah.
And there was inches on lap 22. I think I went to lap 20 as well, which is the biggest insult. It was so close. But inches on lap 22. But again, Smelly, he decided to go a lap earlier than everyone, and gave me out 2 extra laps, which was a good move because Smelly went in a bit early, didn't he? They wasn't ready for inters yet. It was a gamble, which again was right for him to take. He was on super soft. He was trying to survive. He already did one stop. He had good pace, so he thought, all right, I'll stop a bit early, get the undercut. But the overcut seemed to be supreme here for Gamey, didn't it?
Gamey did well. Smelly Badger, obviously, first time out in the season, getting to have some fun and actually having to race and doing where he should be in a series.
However, speaking of Smelly, he got the win eventually because Gamey got a puncher on the way to the pits. He on the last corner got a puncher, so luckily he did spin round, so he lost a lot of time.
Gamey made a couple of mistakes, unfortunately. I wouldn't say gifted. I think he made a couple of mistakes with under the wet conditions with the rear end. He spanned twice.
I'm not saying that Smelly did not deserve it, but I'm saying that helped it out to get the win there, and Gamey second, Ryan third. Ryan had a very quiet race though. He just driving himself and he got a punish.
I think Gamey's goal next season is going to try and get a win because he's going to be from Gp3 from the start. He's comfortable there, so we'll see what happens with all of that. I think Gamey, he's got some place to do, but he can do it. I think I've got all faith in him.
Yeah, and again, Bundy, do you remember this one? Just quickly.
Yeah, I do. I remember this. I remember this race. And it was quite an entertaining race to watch.
What I'm going to say is I got very unlucky. Because the predicted time on the game with rain is absolutely ridiculous. It tells you it's going to come midway through the race, so it comes in like the last 5 laps.
Masters!
So again, I'm just going to say I probably had a chance to get the podium there if I boxed, but I didn't, unfortunately. Not to toot my own horn again. I had quite a mediocre season, but that's how it goes. Anyway, I'm going to move on to GP2 now in Germany. Was this the one you wanted to walk through, JB?
We can skip this race.
No, I just want to say that Mike Bundy finished in his lowest position of the season, but it's still really annoying because Mike Bundy scored points in every race of the season, and he scored 1 point in Germany. It is so annoying to see him still in the points.
That 1 point made all the difference.
Right, so there was going to be rain mid-race here. Fotio went on the ultra-soft tyres.
This was the only race Fotio attended. The only one he actually finished, even.
He went on a different strategy. He went on the ultra-soft tyres. With the rain midway to the race, was that the wrong move, guys? Everyone else on soft, so it was a lot of time. It's a good blanket time for the rain to come down, but he had to box, and that shot his chance of a penalty. Penalty podium.
Well, I think you summed it up perfectly from the GP3 race. That's we're not sure when the rain's going to come, so we want to stay out as long as possible.
But anyway,
which is what everyone else was trying to do.
So we'll go from the start. The top 3 stayed the same there. But Mr. Mike Bundy, you made a mistake on that one, and you were down to P9 at the end of that one there.
Yeah, I think that's because I got wing damage onto somebody dive bombed me. I got wing damage.
But then we're this about in a minute because this was the beginning of this guy's dominance. I don't want to be mean to people, but that's the only way to describe it. But James Braden overtakes Fotio on that 4. His was already dying, and that was already time to say, right, you should come in, get some softs, put some decent lap times before the rain. But he stayed out a bit longer. Rain comes in too late, so the soft runners did have to pit, but at least they weren't pushing their tyres, and it was quite comfortable for those guys. Again, that's the annoying thing with this game, isn't it? The rain, even if it comes, you don't know whether there's going to be intermediate tyres. I think they need to update the weather system a little bit to give you more information. But that's just my opinion. What do you guys think about that? Let's just quickly have a chat. Do you think the weather system's a bit bogus in this game, to not use a swear word?
We don't need to talk about this 100%. Game, frankly, because this is no longer our problem. This game.
Okay, the F1 games in general, then, if they don't update it.
In the F1 games in general, normally the intermediate tyres are deemed are basically when DRS is disabled. That's when you put the inters on, which is stupid, to be honest. You can't just use DRS disabled as a note to get off the soft tyres or the dry tyres. Sorry.
Okay, well, we'll continue on. So Fotio ended up DNFing anyway, which was sad for him. So he didn't finish the race, JB. To your
no, he finished. He finished.
No, that was Baku.
Oh, see, I'm getting excited again.
Then the rain comes on lap 19, Inter's on lap 20. The Williams double stack Yarum and James Braden. James Braden loses 5-10 seconds in this. And then Yarum leads, and then Z Trexter, who's we haven't talked about a lot, he spins, and that puts him down to P4. But again, God Collars was defending all race. I don't really remember God Collars' race either if you rewatched it. But whenever he would be very good at defending for like 5 to 6 laps. But every time he defended, another car would come 2 laps later and try and take him on. It was a aggravating race for God Collars.
It's like being Rocky Balboa. He keeps beating the opponents, but they keep turning up.
And then, so it was full wet condition for the last 3 laps, but no one boxed for wet tyres. I think Sykovich did. He was a reserve for this race, but he wasn't at the field. But anyway, do you want to tell us who won this one? Because I don't think it's difficult, and you use the correct accent, please.
Well, James Braden. James Braden won the Grand Prix. I like James Braden. He's a lovely chap, and that started dominance.
Stereotyping with us apart.
Yeah, definitely stereotyping. This is why I'm a biased commentator.
So what? I don't want to make you happy, but it was a Williams 1-2.
See, I'm very happy.
And then Pedestal again, collecting a good podium. Pedestal was solid this season, wasn't he? He never really had that one of a poor Grand Prix. He had a few, but he was always up there, or at least battling for podiums.
Yeah, he had 2 non-starts and 2 DNFs all season, which is 4 less issues than Mike Bundy, who has too much time on his hands. Shall we move on?
Kettle Black.
We shall. I've made a mistake on my. I've made a mistake on my notes here. Can you guys tell me, you guys on this, what was the race after Baku, Canada?
Oh yeah. Ooh yeah.
Okay.
So
I didn't write Canada down on the side. But no, we have Baku. You titled it Baku. You didn't even put Azerbaijan.
Yeah, because there's a whole thing with certain titles on the YouTube. It gets picked up, and the video will get reported to copyright. Abu Dhabi's the worst. You can't even put Yas Marina with F1 next to it because it pulls it up, and we lose the video.
Liberty Media, we hate you. I think it's Liberty Media.
No, it's not. It's YouTube. Don't blame Liberty.
It's YouTube.
See,
we like Liberty Media. SFR endorses the Americans.
I don't know. I'm not intelligent at all. JB knows
on to round 8 of the championship. As we go for 5 million hours of this stream.
To be fair though, we got to do it quite quickly. We've not lingered on any race.
No, only the ones that you've won.
What? Excuse me.
Come on. Let's get on with this now, because we're gonna actually spend here for hours.
You've been, hang on, just to prove my point, you've been too busy bitching about Bundy the entire time. You saw one time I swear once.
Oh dear! I'm docking your pay.
I think you want zero, so I get nothing anyway.
You don't get paid? Oh, Lee.
SFR exposed.
Formally.
SFR exposed.
But formally, make it about Lee. He's not here to defend himself.
Anyway, so we're going to talk about the Gp3 race in Baku. So it's Blaz on pole with the ultra soft tyre time of a 1:37.981. Laserlaw in second with a 1:38.681, and also Gamey Things with a 1:38.721. So Blaz was 7 tenths up.
Blaz coming into this race was exciting because we thought this is where Blaz MK was going to shine at a circuit which is much like Austria, but without the straight.
He didn't, unfortunately, and unfortunately to say, again, I'm not. This is just me being a reviewer. This race, by the end of it, there was no driver close within 10 seconds with each other.
No, but it did help someone, a certain Irishman in a yellow car.
It did, yes, but JB, this probably takes the cake for not because of any driver fault, but probably takes the cake for the most boring Grand Prix of the season. In terms of the fact that again, this is just me trying to this is a season review and all. This is nothing against the drivers. It's just in terms of racing, this one didn't have much to offer. But again, it's Bahrain. No, it's not Bahrain. It's Baku. So what do you expect?
It's Baku. Yeah, it's as I said at the start of the stream. I remember saying, "Are we going to get a 2016 race or a 2017 race?" And we got a 2016 race, and that's nothing against the drivers. It's just how the strategy fell. Everyone sort of got caught on the same strategy and couldn't overtake. No cars were close together. Whoa, I think there was a safety car. There was at least a virtual safety car, wasn't there?
There was lap one virtual after crash of the castle section. That was Elson.
Yes, that was
but there was not much overtake. Unfortunately, the rain leaves Blaz in P4, so he was quick, but the rain caught him out there. He did 21 laps on the softs though, Blaz, so good stint. But it was not enough for Inters in the end, and there was only 8 finishes, and your finishes were in the order of the top 3: Pasley, Gamey, and Ryan Van Doom.
That was Gamey's first podium, first official podium of the season, and that was a long time coming for the guy that started the same race as I did in season 1. So well done to him for getting his podium. But that was the real point when C. Pasley jumped in and said, "Look, I'm now here to win the championship." And that was around the time he was starting to come up and mention that he was potentially not going to be racing next season in season 5.
Now it's undecided, isn't it?
It's still undecided. There's still, I think, there's talks of contracts and talks of the fact that he's wanting to move home base over to Norway.
Sadly, I haven't got a contract through the door yet.
You gotta find a team first.
Sucks. Yeah, I've already
club.
I've already put emails through.
There's a load of off the subject of that. But yeah, that was the point where C. Pasley was just like, "I'm here to play. I wanna have some fun." And at that point, I started billing it as the guy who's going to leave, because I took the assumption he was going to leave at the end of the season, we were really billing it as the big fight with the guy he was preparing to bow out. And this was the race that brought it up. This was the thing that created C. Pasley's championship charge.
Right, now interestingly, the GP 3 times all launch softs, but we changed to Gp2. They run all on super softs.
Yeah, because they learned.
I want to get. Bundy, was that your plan going in, or did you watch GP3 race and go that the ultra softs don't really work there? I'm just gonna run supers, or did you already know?
I already knew that ultras weren't very good around the track, and that super soft and is it the super soft and soft?
Yeah,
it's
super soft.
Better tires for the race.
Again, yeah, it's such a strange one.
I remember this one.
I remember this one.
Yeah, I think we remember it for the same reason, don't we?
I was stuck in a slipstream train.
It wasn't.
I remember it for.
At one point, you did not want to try and overtake. You were happy with. You said to me you were happy with P4 because if you chucked at the inside, you could have ended like yours and a certain Toro Rosso's race.
Right. Well, do you want to hear the qualifying top 3?
I guess. Was it God Colours?
It was God Colours on top with a 137.476, and then Fotio just behind him with a 137.916. I think it was meant to be God Colours with a 137.976, but I got it wrong. Unless my code is just wrong. Actually, no, it is right. Leave me alone. So that is a 137.476 for God Colours and a 137.916 for Fotio. And
you said that he
Mr.
argued
Bundy
with himself quite well there. That was JB level of arguing with yourself.
And then Mr. Bundy got a 137.997. So all our drivers were within the 137 mark. You just slipped in there, Bundy. Again, God Colours though in qualifying strong.
God Colours was king of qualifying this season, but he couldn't convert. And again, it wasn't always his fault.
No, but who was the? We'll talk about the king of the race in a second.
Who do you think by about 300 million years and made me very happy to be a certain fan? But, he was in Japan by the time you guys were finishing the race. Let's be fair.
Sorry to remind you, Bundy, but at the beginning of the race, Electro Dan got the better of you. You went down to P4, and so that was the first big overtake. And then there was damage galore. I put damage galore because there was tons of it. Then Peda and Nikas crashed. I don't really remember this one. Nikas was losing the back end, and he kind of sideswiped into Peder Solheim. I remember you had to calm down a very, very angry Peder Solheim. At that point, JB.
I believe it did. Oh, that was
And
not
then there was a
nice.
there's a virtual safety car on that one again. Then Braden flies up to P2, the fastest car on the circuit, in lap 9. And then Grid Strategy gets 3 seconds in the lead. And then there was a battle between for P2 between God, Photo, and Bundy. Bundy, you were so close, but that was a really good race between you three because that was so close.
I remember just being every lap, just not being able to get close enough in the slipstream, and then the one chance I had, I think I went up the outside of God Colours, and then was side by side with Photio, and then I bottled it and ended up losing the positions again and stayed 4. So then I just thought,
well, JB, I'm going to ask, how many seconds do you think Braden won by?
20.
It was. I don't think it was that far, to be honest.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't 20.
It was. It was about. I think it was just shy of 5, wasn't it?
It was 15.
Okay, a
I
little
was
bit
closer
further.
then. I was closer then.
Yeah, I don't know why I was like, I was really surprised. No, Braden absolutely bolted. No offense to Bundy and the other guys, but he was away. Anyway,
Well, offense to Bundy,
Baku,
who sat right next to
again.
us.
Baku, it did treat us in GP2, didn't it? That was a much better race, especially for P2. Perhaps not for the lead, but for us, JB in the comments box, we had a lot to
The
keep
stream
us.
is as long as we want to make it, because we're enjoying having a chat.
Who said that?
Golden Crimson was asking. He wants to get to his races. The ones we have no notes for.
Yeah, the ones you have no notes for. That's really fun. Because no offense, I don't know who Golden Crimson is.
Golden
He was
Crimson
your
is.
replacement. He was your replacement.
Yeah, drove better than you as well.
Did he win?
Yes.
Yeah, he did.
Oh no! I won. How many did he win?
He won. Now, on the subject of that, we'll get to that later on.
How many podiums did he get?
Shall we move on to? No, we're not going to play that game anymore. We're not back down. Point.
JB, how many podiums did he get?
This is why we cannot have a good thing.
JB,
how many podiums did you get? 7. There you go.
7. I wasn't gone for 7 races. I was gone for about 4. How many podiums did you get, JB? JB, how many podiums?
I'm not doing this. Come on to Canada.
No, you're telling me.
I'm going to kick him in a minute. It'll just be us two. Alright, come on. Off to Canada, because we need to talk about the red flag situation in GP2.
I don't want to go to Canada. Calendar?
Oh my Christ.
I don't want to go to Canada.
This is going to be a 4-hour long stream, and I'll have wasted my entire night because we won't have actually talked about half the season.
It's almost 2 hours, but alright.
Yeah, we're halfway through. Idiots does season review. You don't get this on the BBC.
It's like Julian Palmer.
Oh, it's worse than Julian Palmer. Come on. I call Julian Palmer half the time.
Okay, well, we're gonna go to Canada.
Oh, Mike's sleepy. Leave him alone.
Right, Gp3 anyway. So we'll talk about qualifying. So Blaz got a 1:08.852, and then behind him was Chain Game. Wow. Chain Game Wow was a 1:09.035. Those are both else, but Gamey decided to go for the Hypersoft, and he got third with a 1:09.180. Hypers, I'm not going to be mean to gaming things, but Hypersoft is no way to go in league racing, is it? You're not gonna get me out.
It takes a risk to use the Hypersoft tyres. It's a risk, and you've got to have the pace to back it up. And at that point, Gamey thought he did. So commendable to him for trying it. I mean, Mike Buddy didn't try it.
No, but speaking of the top 3, they clashed in turn 2. I don't know if you remember this,
Yes,
Jamie.
they did. It was Blaz MK, and both Mercedes, and the comments afterwards were glorious because Blaz had no idea, and I think the shoe was chalked it up to Gamey's brakes gave up slightly as he came into turn 1. He tipped the back of Blaz, who hit Chain Game, who then hit Gamey, and they both slid off into the gravel. And that suddenly made it for a very interesting race with 3 fast guys very, very, very far behind.
All I'm going to say is you said that we need to skip qualifying and you went on a tangent about comments.
The amount of numbers you release, I mean, my brain hurts.
I admit I did this work. I'm not going to skip it. All right, it took me. This is maths, right here, and I'm not going to say that I'm not great at maths either. So
Opposite of maths, shall we get on with Canada?
So because it's Ryan Van Doom to the lead of the race, and all three of them pit, and Shane was the only one to go on the ultra. But the other two, Brad and Gamey, they went on the super softs. They were planning to go long, but Shane Game thought ultra softs. I don't know if that was a mistake or he just thought those were the most comfortable time to be on. But it went well for Shane Game rather than the other two. So hey ho. So Ryan, he got a 1 second lead. He started to pull away, but then his teammate Laserlord started to close him in. But then Ryan booked lap 8, and Smelly Badger again. He was a strange one, wasn't he? Because he seemed to be nowhere at the beginning of races, but he would just pull out these great performances, wouldn't he? Out of nowhere, it would, and that's insane.
That's what he does. He showed it in Gp2. He didn't qualify very well, and then he flew up and he did very well.
Absolutely. But then after that, Smelly takes the lead at lap 10. But then the rain hit at lap 16. Again, I wasn't here for this in comms and wasn't racing either. Pasley leads going into the interstint. Congratulations to Pasley. Then Pasley, then Gamey spins and reverses into racing pod, which he got very annoyed at. And that was the only time the game stewards gave a fair penalty, in your opinion, which was a 5-second stop go, I believe.
Yes, and that also resulted in a further penalty added on to because of the collision at turn 1 with Gamey, and then the race-ending collision of Racing Pod on Gamey that ended in a stronger penalty from our stewards, saying that he needed a further one, and he resulted in a qualifying ban for Span.
All we're saying is that was a fair penalty in Canada. Yeah, we're not.
I still won't shift on that. I think that's all right.
I don't think it's alright at all.
We won't get onto penalties because I will fling you out of this office.
Oh, I'm sad. Yeah, because when you argue with JB, he gets quite grouchy. Mr. Bundy knows that.
I get flingy. I throw things. That's why I can't have a helmet anymore.
But Laser versus Ryan for P2, and then Ryan oddly pitted for another intercept, which put it back to P5. He was fastest, but there was not enough laps. He pit with 5 laps to go. He dropped back 20 seconds. I don't know why he decided to pit. Do you think he should stay out on JB and just hold second position?
He may have overcooked his tyres. He may have overheated them. He may have cooked them up. I mean, Mike, you know how hard those intermediate tyres were.
Well, to be fair, when we got to Canada, we only did a couple of laps on the inters, so I don't really know. Just in general, the inters are quite terrible. Yep,
and can you remember the top 3, GB? Do it quickly though. Don't go. Take 3 names.
It's Pasley, Chain Game, and someone else. I think it was Ryan. No, Game.
But no.
What? No.
I'll give you one more chance.
It was C Pasley, Laserlord.
Yep.
I'm
Chain Game.
I'm not drunk enough for this yet.
It was. Yes, it was. Yes,
it was. I'm telling you now, I'm not drunk enough yet, and I was looking at the table and still couldn't work it out.
I think you should. I think you should do it and drink.
I don't drink, but when I'm around you, I'm gonna have to start. Come on.
We're gonna need to stop tiring me up here. It's quite difficult. I've got so many different Google Docs to comb through. The nature of the beast. Right, I found it. So we'll talk about Canada, GP2. Thomas, that's all I know him as because he had a funny name. Thomas took pole on the hypersoft.
His funny name was Thomas. His PSN name was Thomas. What? You're a T-Rex. You're a T-Rex. Mike Bundy's an advert for Dead On, and I've given myself a fancy name, and his name's Thomas, and you call that a funny name? My God Almighty! What do they put in this coffee? I swear I'm hallucinating.
Oh my God! Oh, I thought being sleep deprived.
3.5 hours this is going to take, and I didn't sign up for 3.5 hours. We are never doing this again.
I didn't sign up for staying up all night.
Oh,
but you decided to change it to this week.
Well,
So,
you said you wanted to do it another day. Anyway, come on, hurry up. Canada.
So.
Oh, the crap's killing me right now. I've been sat too long.
Get used to when you're in a wheelchair, mate. It's horrible. But anyway, so the top three were Thomas, Braden, and Brewster. Brewster, I don't know how you say his name. I'll be honest.
Quality with a wheelchair card, firstly.
It's true. You can't go out and sat down for long with a wheelchair.
Gordon Crimson has the best comment. Can you imagine if this had been 21 races? Oh my god.
We would have done too fast. We would have. If we do this again, we'll do multiple parts. We'll do all parts.
We'll cut the whole idea of qualifying because that was useless. Canada.
Yeah, I thought it'd be cool when I like McCullough Cody, okay?
I think
Leave me alone.
The thing with Canada with GP2 we have to talk about, and it's the elephant in the room, is the red flag. We had to red flag the race again.
But it was a good race.
It was a brilliant race, but the safety car came out, and then it didn't.
It stayed out. It stayed out.
The safety car boards came out. It all came out. But then it didn't happen. The safety car didn't come out. Clearly, Mercedes ployed the trick to try and get their drivers into the top, and they didn't release their third car. You didn't release your third car, Mike. I mean, your teammate didn't come out to see you. He didn't come out to help you. But yeah,
let's talk about some of the events that led up to the red flag quickly. So it was really Brains to win, and he did win it in the end, obviously, because it was red flagged. But he again was dominant. However, there was a few close people. Like Thomas was there with the weird name.
It wasn't a weird name. I'm gonna kill him.
But no, good finishes were Braden, Brewster, and Collins to God. Anyway, do you want to move on? Because again, I don't know whether you're getting tired. I mean,
all I'll say from that race is I think that was we were pretty much up most of the rest of that evening, just trying to sort out penalties. And credit where credit's due. Lee, I think, spent a good couple of hours trying to go through the race, sorting out the penalties, because obviously a lot of people had penalties.
Lee spent a ridiculous amount of time trying to work out everything with it, and so credit where credit's due. Lee did a good job.
Thank you, Lee. Whoop whoop.
Only good job we did all season.
Shut up! I want to have dinner. I haven't eaten yet.
Right. Why does that matter about Lee?
Because I'm hungry and I want to get on with this.
He doesn't feed you. I don't know why they're calling out Lee made you like, I haven't eaten yet.
Got him in the dungeon.
We're never doing this again. Right, Spain.
So I've actually enjoyed this. I'll do it by myself.
Spain, yeah, you can do it by yourself. I'll leave in a minute.
Alright. No, but Spain.
Talk about Spain in GP3.
I need to find the Google Doc first.
Right, let's talk about Spain as a general thing.
Spain, boring.
Yeah, Spain is not a good track. Contrary to popular belief by the Mr. T-Rex here, it is not a good Formula 1 track.
I like it.
It's a meme track, that's what it is.
You're a meme track.
I'm not a meme track. I told you before, you can't roll over me.
Oh, that doesn't make any...
The only person that can roll over on me is Mike Bundy.
No, not to say, but that didn't make any effing sense.
No, it did. It did make sense, because Mike Bundy rolls over me all the time.
Okay, well, I didn't make notes for this one. I must have skipped it. But I did make notes for qualifying. However, I watched the race, so I know what happened. You know what I'm talking about, right? No, I did make notes. I didn't name it. Oh no, it's called document something. I made an absolute technical boo-boo here. But I'm trying to find it, guys. I think Chain Game won it. I think.
You think Chain Game won it? You think Chain Game won it? Chain Game did win this one.
Okay, you can tell us then. Do I have any notes?
I don't remember. I slept since then. Chain Game well. He showed promise in Canada. But
I found it.
Oh, he's got it, folks. He's got it.
So yeah, it was Chain Game, but so T. Jonas was in this one. he decided to pop up.
Yeah,
And he had a great start.
You got a
He
steering wheel on
passed
that
Ryan
one.
into P3, but the top 5 seconds ahead for everyone. And then the chain game, he flies and he gets a 2-second lead. So chain game was pretty dominant here. Blaz in second and a 2.5-second lead, and the guy in third. But chain game had an 8-second. Sorry, I turned my mic off by accident. Yeah, an 8-second lead up to lap 22, and he won the race in there really. Chain game, Blaz, and Pasley. This was a really quick one because it was again, as you said, a really boring race.
Yeah, the worst part is now Golden Crimson is helping us out in chat.
Yeah.
Thank you, teammate.
He's not your teammate, you got fired!
Even though he ain't got a mic, we should have just invited him to the party.
Oh, I don't. Right, GP2 in Spain. What happened in that race?
Get the Google Doc, mate. Get the Google Doc.
I can do a quick summary.
Yeah, go on, Bundy, because you happened to this one,
James Braden won the race by about 10 seconds. I finished P2 and Pedder finished in P.
Why just no?
Oh my God, Mike needs a reboot. This isn't fair. He's on dial-up again.
I can't remember who finished third.
Electro Dan. It was Electro Dan.
There you go. Electro Dan finished third.
So anyway, you were side by side to P1. You were side by side with Peter Solheim, mate. No, it wasn't. It wasn't you. You were the
I was going to say it wasn't me. I was in third for the start of the race.
Not according to my notes. You were fourth.
Oh, well, third, fourth, whatever. Same thing.
Peter Solheim was third, but no, side by side with Gold Collars and Braden in turn one. Gold Collars, he went off the circuit, went really wide, going through that moment. He took the Robert Grosjean line, as I like to call it now, and he went to P9. And James Braden had a 2.5-second lead going into lap 5, and it was a Bundy versus Peter Solheim fight for a while there for P2. But then Peter stayed out too long and he lose that to Electro Dan, so Peter Solheim finished P4. So it's promoted Dan to P3, and that meant that Peter Solheim. I don't know why I put Peter as the winner. It was Braden.
Can I just say that, Electro Dan, you're very close with that, but it's also been the world's longest stream of actually showing bugger all on screen.
I mean, if you guys want to join it, we can wrap it up. You know, I've actually quite enjoyed this. I mean, I know it's getting quite
at this
now,
point, because Alex decided that he needed to sleep, unlike a true gamer, we have to look at the write-ups courtesy of Lee Nell.
I have Japan.
We can look at the write-ups courtesy of Lee Nell on the Facebook page.
Whoa! Can I just say, right? We're not mentioning qualifying anymore, but I qualified P3. Yes. I've been there and DNF'd, but you know, but got a P3 qualifying anyway. So if you want to do the write-ups by Lee Nell, then go ahead, man.
I've got to try and find the write-ups now. Hold on.
I've got my notes ready. Let's go.
I'm trying to remember who won.
Oh, I know who won.
Go on then.
Chain game.
Of course, yes.
But no. So Alco pipped me to get P3 from the start. He was P4, and then Gamey gets chain game. So it was a swap of the Mercedes. It was Mercedes 1-2. Chain game on pole with Gamey in second. Chain game, however, was on the soft tyres, so that was even a better lap from him. So he was going on into the race, so maybe he let Gamey through, I don't know, we didn't really catch that one on stream. The PM1 stood together, and I was 2.5 seconds back by lap 3, so the Mercedes were dominant on pace. They were doing very good team riding, they kept swapping positions, it was a really good race from them. Blaz was on the charge though, he had a very poor qualifying, and that's kind of the exciting thing about this one. There wasn't that much upfront battling, because the Mercedes were working together. However, Blaz, he had a very poor qualifying. He always does this, doesn't he, JB? He can find a way to make a race interesting. He just flies to the pack.
I tell you're asking me. Mike Bundy's here too.
I mean, yeah, but Mike Bundy, I think you. Last time we checked in with him, he like broke down. Mike Bundy is not responding.
Rebooted.
So, Mike Bundy though, but Blaz, he's just an entertainer, isn't he? He's like the Max Verstappen of SFR.
Well, both Blaz and C. Pasley are, aren't they? Because they're both very quick off the line, and then they have the sort of do or die attitude when it comes to battling people.
Absolutely. Sorry to offend you there, JB, about the Max Verstappen comment.
I think we're not getting back into Max because that is uncalled for. Firstly, but I think in the interest of fairness to everyone here, and the interest of, I think, everyone's sanity, because we're starting to get at each other's throats. After this one at round 11, we will continue this, our little chat about the season next time, when we have all the notes, we have a fresh head on our shoulders. So this has been a long one. We're already at 2 hours, so we're going to cut it short after we finish Japan, and then we're going to come back with the final rounds of the season, where, in fairness, both championships got to the absolute max.
So when are we doing this?
We will do it sometime before the new game comes out, or we'll do it on the new game with Mike Bundy driving around in a circle.
I can't do it tomorrow because I'm going to go see Toy Story 4.
Because he doesn't have commitments in life.
No,
anyway,
but,
where are we with Japan? Because in fairness, I stopped listening about 5 minutes ago. Are we in Gp2?
So no. We were talking about Blast, and you told me to talk to Bundy. So I talked to Bundy.
I remember now. I stopped listening.
I think the only reason we're stopping is because JB's struggling.
I've got a migraine. That's what I got.
I didn't sleep all night, and look at me, I'm still
We're not going to have a dick measuring contest on the SFR channel.
Stop swearing!
I don't care!
We've already lost our couple on New Offense sponsorship. Come on, man.
The same one left there.
And at this point, it's time to end. We'll pick up again with next week.
We'll talk about Japan as well. We'll link Japan in. We'll talk about Japan.
Yes, we'll do a quick refresher of everything we learned in this stream. Or in fairness, I might just delete it. No, I'll rename this into the failed something, or we might just rush through them all again and then talk about it.
Either that, or we'll do like a more appropriate 2-part. I think we better, rather than rushing through it.
We shall see what happens. Nonetheless, we'll talk about Japan next time. We've done 10 rounds here, or attempted to do 10 rounds. I don't even remember what happened at the start of this stream.
To be fair, I think we were soldiers here. I think we did a good job. There's a lot to talk about, and we did a solid job. It's the regular SFR banter. I just want to say this was my first stream that I led. I know it was more of a Q&A thing with the other two, but I just want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity, Lee. Also, I just want to say, watching all these streams back, I want to say a huge thank you to JP, because he is the genuine hero of this league. He was in the comment box alone quite a lot of the time.
I'm not.
No, you were.
No, I'm not.
Listen.
For one particular reason.
Shut up! I'm bigging you up. Shut up.
I'm not the hero.
You were in. No. Shh. My stream.
I'm hosting this. I can kick you off anytime I like.
No, but he genuinely was by himself a lot in the comments box most of the season. But that was me having college commitments and other things, and whether he, Swan joined him later on in Gp3. Got to say, he did a lot of it by himself, and he's done a very good job. And
you don't need to get emotional because we're not at the final race yet.
But I think Bundy would agree, just because this has been a long stream, and I think Bundy would agree that Jack's done a lot for SFR over the years, and this season was just another.
I'm not dying.
You're getting replaced.
There was no talk about me getting replaced.
Me and Lee were talking about it yesterday.
At this point, me commentating F1 IRL would be brilliant, purely for the fact that I'd have a competent co-commentator.
Not my fault, disabled.
You can't play that card with me, you know that. And at that point, it's time to end.
Have steps going up, I can never get in.
And that's why I dangled the microphone in front of you at the end. Okay, we'll pick this up sometime before I age rapidly, because I think I've got a few more grey hairs since this one started. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to catch up with the season review, that's going to happen. I think we might look at Tuesday and try and have first look at the 2019 game with it as well.
Me, JB, and Bundy will be racing each other as we talk.
No, we won't, because I will not have that again. But we will have the first look at the 2019 game on SFR with the end of the season review. Thank you, Mike, for joining whatever this was.
I love how you're doing the outro to my stream.
At this point, I'm cutting you off. Thank you, Alex, for doing all your work that you have done.
Let me do the out. I stayed up all night for this. I want to do an outro.
I'm taking the headphones off in a minute. I'm going to walk away. I'm walking away.
He's cutting you off.
I'm walking away now. Bye.
I stayed up all night. Thank you guys for watching this stream so much. I know there's a lot of banter and a lot. Thank you to Bundy for sticking around. I know Jack's gone and left, but thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys next time for the rest of this. And I promise you, it will be even more insane. I hope. else. I think me, Jack, and Bundy want to apologise for the absolute travesty what this was, but hopefully you enjoyed it. Goodbye.